The classic way of doing pair programming, as popularised by the extreme school of Agile development, is peer-based, where both are equal participants within the process. The aim here is to produce higher quality code. Now this means that not only do you have to review everything tight, but one of the advantages here about better quality is when you have a pair which work well together, when you don't have the keyboard and you're driving, what that means is you can do strategic thought. You should be rising above simply the code which is written and thinking at a higher level, thinking ahead, thinking sideways, thinking about design, thinking about problems. Now, in that sort of pairing, once you have an instinctive knowledge of each other, you'll find actually swapping of roles becomes more frequent and less disruptive. Now, when you want to force forward a particular idea, that means you probably don't want to argue about it so much. In fact, pair programming, you shouldn't really get arguing because all that happens is transfer of keyboard and mouse from one to the other. And then the person who's thinking tactically can then think strategically about whether it's a good idea. And the person with the strategic, where there's a dispute, can actually try and code to encapsulate exactly what's going on. Now, if it's still disagreement, well, that's design, and you need to stand up and do design at the whiteboard at that stage. But usually, seeing the code is far easier to communicate with code than actually verbalise, and it's often quicker. Efficient coders will probably code up an idea far quicker than they can explain it. Now, in that case, that's where pair programming really has a big advantage, because collaborating with different machines, you get a really slow feedback loop. Now, that's one way which Agile shops which don't do continuous pair programming can also exploit the technique. Because really, in that case, you've got a design dispute and you don't want to take it to the board. It's a tactical versus strategic dispute and you're working closely together. Get on one keyboard. Yeah, we need to do this bit. It's hard. We need to think. Let's get together and pair up. And that's cool. It should be encouraged, even when you're normally operating on separate machines. So, pair programming, peer pair programming in this case. And it's a really difficult skill. It takes a long time to acquire, but is really useful as a technique. Unintuitively so, because you wouldn't think so at first glance.